All right. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Nice, same like Stanley. Nice to see family faces, and also it's nice to set the ball rolling with Jackie. With Stanley, share a lot about ecosystem. I think on my side, I'm going to share more about chamber as a whole, as well as about since we work a lot with the government program as well as practitioners. Just want to share some insights, what have been happened before, and how we can improve, or maybe some insights that we can explore together moving forward. So just a brief intro about CSED. So Chamber started around 6 years ago. The idea is because I think at that time, pre-Chamber, we were quite heavily supported in the ecosystem by Magic, Malaysian Global Innovation and Creativity Center. And once Magic being moved to Meranti, their focus was focusing on something else. So we feel there's a gap. So that's where Chamber started by all practitioners like Rajvin itself, Kuhan, Dazri, myself, and few more. The idea is to be the voice of SEs and relevant stakeholders. And we feel like we want to build a thriving, inclusive economy. And these are the three key areas that we look at. Number one, of course, we want to be resources for social entrepreneurs. People always be like, hey, where do I get info of this, info of that? So we hope we can be the place where people come to us. We will try to share as much as we can what we know in the ecosystem. Right now, we don't have a platform yet. Our website is not built into this informative website, but we do have a WhatsApp group to share to as many SEs that we can in any program available that can help them. Number two, of course, we work in terms of collaboration for greater impact. We try to work with as many people. One of it, like example, we created Semai last year, Social Enterprise Malaysia Amplify Impact. It's like a conference, a 2-3 days conference. So we did in KL, Sabah, and Sarawak. And of course, that wouldn't happen without collaboration with ecosystem players like SDEC, CINIC, and others like Biji-biji as well. And then lastly, of course, in terms of advocacy and policy influence, CSED is part of the SETCOM, Social Enterprise Development Committee that is being head by Ministry of Entrepreneurship. So we are there inside just to make sure that whatever decision making, we'll try to share as much as you can based on the voice from the ground. Of course, not all are being heard, but we try as much to change their focus to see whether we can really represent the ecosystem. So these are a few insights, right? Key learnings or you need notice from the national SE advocacy and support. I would say success factors. I think there's a lot of collaboration that's happened. I think that's great. We can see more and more people are working with each other to make things work. And I think it's also good that we have a clear framework and accreditation, Semai 2030. I know this blueprint accreditation, there might be flaws there, but I think at least having it started somewhere, that is good, something for all SEs to aim for. And I think whenever we want to do something, it's good that we start with, we have to start somewhere, right? I think we start first and then we try to improve. And that's where CSED has been trying our best to really work with the ministry. Just like, okay, this accreditation criteria is great to start with, but now with the ever changing of pace, ever changing of industry, we need to improve. So this is something that is pros and cons, but at least it's nice to start with something. Challenges. I think challenges, even though nationwide we still struggle in terms of creating awareness. Same goes with Klang Valley. I think there's a limited public awareness of SEs that is happening throughout Malaysia. I think this is something we still need to work on, still need to improve. I think there's so many ways what we can do, but I do agree with one point that Stanley mentioned earlier about having everyone coordinate together rather than everyone doing things on silo. I think because one thing about working on silo, I think it goes to my next point in terms of fragmentation in policy, fragmentation in policy and stakeholder alignment, because yes, we have this blueprint by the government, but the government didn't really approach all the stakeholders on a consistent manner. I think they already approach like I think once a year, I guess. So I think once a year is not enough in terms of getting that alignment in terms of what needs to be done for the ecosystem. And because of that, that's why I see the fragmentation happen. Hopefully we can reduce that this year by working really closely together and see how we can help the ecosystem. But out of that, I do feel like because of the lack of involvement by the government, you do see a lot of grassroots initiative. A lot of people now decided, hey, let's do things on our own. Hey, let's work together. I think one of it, of course, we have Biji-biji. I'm not saying it because they are the host, but I think that's something that is great to see. They are really working hard to make everyone together, sit down together like today, and there's other few programs, sit down together and see how we can work with each other. Example like Yasan Sana working with intermediaries. I think that's good, right? To see a lot of people are working together. Let's see, like, okay, forget about this Semai 2030. Let's see how we can help the ecosystem. But we also see some success in terms of corporate partnership. One thing I want to share, I mean, Seed Lab is incubated by Petronas, but I want to share about Clean. So Clean, their project get a lot of collaboration in. So Clean partner with Meranti, I mean Slash Magic, partner together with Grab, Meranti, FNN, Lotus, and Shell. And all of them partner together to create a fund up to 500,000 to place all Clean machine throughout nationwide. So it's still happening until today. It's nice to see that. So some things are happening, and this is beyond, besides Clean, I think there's so many other SEs that are doing similar things as well. Next is also, this is what I feel what worked well and what doesn't work well. And I think what worked well, of course, we have a lot of multi-stakeholder programs that align with SDG. More and more capacity building workshop tailored to SE needs, because we see there's a market need. We don't I wouldn't say there's as many as typical tech startup, but I think more and more are blooming now. A lot of people are coming in to do a lot of programs for SEs. Biji-biji, Satu Creative, SDEC is doing it, Cynic is doing it, ASB is doing it. So I think that's great to see more and more things are happening, public-private collaboration for funding. But what didn't work, I think because of the lack of awareness of SE, there are other program provider out there, like just use the word of SE to get some demand, to get some, what they call it, participants to join, but actually there's not. Even last year, I remember there's one program called Social Enterprise Conference, but that 2 days program has nothing to do with SE, but they just use the word because it's a buzz. So I think that is a bit of a challenge, because of there's no one that is policing like every people that using the word SE. I think because of that, there's overly generic program that lack relevance, but also there's insufficient follow-up post-training. So people come to the workshop, come to the program, and what's next? So then this is generally, I think, is happening to the whole ecosystem as well. When they come in and then we're not sure what happened next, right? So I think this is something that we want to look how we can make it work. And I also noticed that programs succeed when they are localized and action-oriented. Right now, a lot of programs are still too general. Everyone can come in and apply, and then that's it, right? So I think that's something that we need to improve, how we can make it work, how we can make it more localized, and then at least there's a continuity post-program. Yeah, so this is what I feel that we can explore for Sarawak as the ecosystem. Number one, of course, I think if we collaborate, build Sarawak-centric programs in partnership with local community, meaning we look at what is the core issue in Sarawak ecosystem and building on that, rather than just, I mean, it's still good to work with any ideas that involve impact, but I think one thing, if we want to get involvement from the government as well as the continuity as well as support, I think if we build a Sarawak-centric programs with a core problem statement, it'll be great, because by doing that, then you can think long term. How can we build that from the start to make sure that it succeeds towards state level, or even then can be replicated as well. So I think having that local-centric program would be great. And last one also, of course, in terms of engage beyond boot camps, provide ongoing mentorship. I do agree with Jacqueline. I think mentorship is a need. A few years back, I think why we still have that strong support of SE ecosystem. I know based on Yasan Hasana's metrics to show that a lot of grants that they are providing is for the early stage SEs. But the truth is the one that has been actively out there mostly is the like SEs that are already more than 5 or maybe reach to 10 years. Okay, why are they still connected until today? Because when they started 10 years ago, Magic was there to build that mentorship, to build that network, to build that community. But now, people who want to start an SE, they don't know where to go. People want to start an SE, they don't know how to approach the senior SEs. So I think because of that gap, I think which is why people are struggling. So having that mentorship and support to say like, hey, that's great what you're doing. We are here to support, especially looking at the generation of SEs that are already more than 10 years, they are happy to give back. So I think this is where we hope we can build that ecosystem again, build that pool again, circle again, to see how we can bridge the gap, let them work together and see how it goes. And I noticed one question just now about what if we copy a similar idea but make it localized to my members, is still creating impact. Is that good or not? I think that's great, because it means that it's already worked elsewhere and it's just replicating it in a new place, and it's a bit easier to achieve success. And then we can make that ripple effect, and maybe can collaborate and work together and make it bigger contribution to the economy. I think and then now it's just an additional slide from me, just to share about procurement. So a few years back, there's a procurement program called Buy for Impact. It was a movement to support social procurement, but it died down a few years back. So now we want to start kickstart it again, because Buy for Impact is the name being used by a different ministry, which is not purely focused on social enterprise anymore. So now we call it Buy Social. We are still in the midst of make it work, because we see SED is membership based. So it's not a company, it's not an organization. So we try to pull in people to help assist on this. So the idea of Buy Social is not a marketplace, but we look at it more as a catalog. I think a catalog for people to know who to support, where to support, how to support. So it's just a list of social enterprise, where if you guys keen to support, to buy, they click on the link, then they can contact directly to the social enterprise directly. Right now, the company or logo below that I put in is purely the company that have worked with CSED directly. But to be honest, there's more than this. There's a lot of corporates right now are purchasing product from social enterprise. So we're hoping by what they call it, showcasing them on the Buy Social website, we will encourage more and more people to support. Because the way I see it, right, the only way to grow social enterprise ecosystem is by visibility. If there's no visibility of what great work has been done, people might always feel like, oh, has this been done? Or what's the success story? So which is why I want to start with by showcasing what has been done in the procurement, what has been done in investment, and hopefully by doing this, people will see more and more things that can be done in the ecosystem and how we can support them. Because I think right now, especially this year, right, is ASEAN Championship. I think this is a good opportunity for us to really push things through to get more and more SEs to be maybe sustainable, or maybe to have that visibility, so that when we have ASEAN countries are here, we can showcase more of our product, services, and deliverables by the SEs in Malaysia. And that's it from me.
Okay, thank you, Redza. We also have a lot of questions for you. Starting with one for myself, but I think that what you said about we have to start somewhere and then we can improve from there. I think that's a good point. But then you also mentioned balancing that with long-term support and follow-up, so that it's not only providing support to early stage SEs, but SEs that are growing, SEs that are scaling, so that we keep them in the game long term, not just starting SEs and then abandoning them. So that I think is a challenge for our participants of SEDAR to take on in the boot camp, right? Like, how do we start with something that is manageable to actually launch, while still trying to make sure that there are pathways for long-term sustainable impact for those SEs that are under that program. I think it's also interesting that you and Stanley both mentioned this fragmentation, this lack of coordination, that organizations need to be more strategically aligned. And I think in your case, you've mentioned that the agency, the body that used to do a lot of that coordination work was Magic. So my question is, which central agency or agencies do you think are best positioned to take on that work of coordination? Or do you think that moving forward, this will need to come from more local level or organizations, within the state or within, smaller areas of Malaysia?
Yeah, I think so. To be honest, I do feel it shouldn't be led by government agency, in the national wise focus, because they always been given different mandate every year. When the mandate is different, they tend to focus on something else. So I think it's a bit tough to let them lead. That's why I would love to see more either corporate or hopefully corporate can lead this. But what I see, it was working last year if it's being led by the state government. I think CNIC and SDEC has shows that if state government is fully focused on improving this, really working on the ecosystem, because they know the core problem, what's happening in the state itself. And they also notice that by creating a social enterprise solution, it's sustainable impact. So that's what's been happening in Sabah and Sarawak. So I would love to see that's being replicated in other states. Johor is working towards that. I think Iskandar is working closely in creating more and more programs to solve problems through social enterprise initiative. So I would say as of right now, it works if it's state government led. But in terms of nationwide, government, I work with KUSKOP, I work with Mostly. I think it's a bit tough because the only thing they will keep on answering is there's no funding this year. That's what has been a
Mm.
recurring what do you call it, feedback that have been given. So that's why if to answer your question, I think right now I rather see it to be led by state led ministry or something like that.
All right, so more at state level. And then you also mentioned corporate. So we have two questions about corporate.
Mm-hmm.
One is more broadly, what do you think the role of, what role do you think big corporations can play in supporting SE more generally? And then a more specific question, when it comes to corporate social procurement, what are some best practices for designing programs that integrate corporate social procurement?
Okay, I think as a start, the best way is to just start with mentorship first. I don't want to say funding because, of course, funding is a chicken egg thing. They can buy, but the SE can't produce, then it's a bit tough. So I would always say it's nice to start with mentorship first because
Mm.
what SE need is awareness. So if they create by mentorship first, having that corporate employees to be invested in helping them in mentoring them, I think that's great. Slowly to see how they can come in and support. And then from there onwards, that's where they can start promoting about social enterprise to others as well. So I think that's something that they can start with, having that mentorship support. Number two, what I see is working is as well in terms of working on their community building, like CSR or community building. Like example, certain SEs have their workshop program, has the recycling program. I think like Fuse Eco Tier, where people can work with Fuse Eco Tier. They go down and help to collect trash from the nearby river. So that works as well. So I think it's more like I'm talking about the what do you call it, low level or low risk involvement. Start with that first, then slowly build that rapport. Because I think talking about corporate, people always feel like, oh, I need to go to HR, I need to go to their procurement department. No, actually, corporate has a lot of department. Every department might support SEs, but other department might not know about it. So I think I would say the easiest level to come in is, of course, either mentorship or the what do you call it, support in terms of team building or community building program. In terms of the second question, in terms of procurement, this is a bit challenging in a way because as of right now, of course, not all to be blamed on corporate why they're not purchasing SEs. SEs do play a part as well. Sometimes they cannot deliver in terms of timeline, in terms of uh what do you call it? Can they deliver a big number of orders, right? But things of corporate, of course, number one is understanding that you can't working with SE is not working like what they call like a factory machine company. I work with a few corporate who say like, oh, why this label is a bit like not straightforward, not the same as everything. Why this color is different? Why this design is different? So creating the expectation that when you support SEs is that it's not a factory level kind of produce. You are supporting what do you call it, an artisan work, individual work. It could be different for every product, but also understandable that try to, I would say one more advice is try to not supporting the same SE all the time. It's good to know that okay, I know one SE, then you just support the whole SE at one at a time, at the whole time. So I think that's something that hopefully corporate can change their mindset, try to explore more, try to Google more about it. Another last best practice is what works as well is when if a corporate doesn't have a big funding to support SEs, because I know SEs product can be expensive, but what can they do is just allow SEs to open a booth once a month or once a quarter. I think that will work as well. I'll take example, Kazana. Kazana, every quarter they have this Tea Talk series. And when they have this Tea Talk series, what they do is they will invite SEs to come over lunch every quarter, once a week. And while one SE is going to do their sharing session, they allow another 3 to 4 SEs to open a booth at the area as well. So it's 2 in 1, right? So first they learn about SEs. Second, the employee will go on the ground during lunchtime, check out the booth. And then whether they purchase after that is up to them, but SEs appreciate this. They just appreciate a chance to display their product. And from one good case studies of this Kazana TikTok series is that we brought SEs from Sabah. for that particular day. And then that SE's got an order around five or six figure revenue for the Kazana Megatrend Forum. So that sales might not happen on that day, but because creating the awareness for each department representative to come on the ground to check out the product, it might create an idea of, okay, this is something I can order for future. So sales might not happen at that time, but this is something that can happen in future whenever they have events like F&B or corporate gift, things like that. So it's more like also opening the door. So meaning in a way,
Right. So more like
company not
giving
spending money.
exposure, giving
Exactly.
platform.
Correct.
Right. Okay, so that's really helpful because I think, what you said about mentorship ties into what Dr. Jacqueline was saying earlier about, what a lot of SEs need is help with strategy, mentorship with those decisions, with people with experience in making business decisions. And I think that's something that Rash will be covering later when he talks about the IKEA SEAM program. So thank you for all your sharing.